Welcome to the Byzantine Coin Podcast, Episode 6. Today we're going to talk about my favorite show of the year, the New York International, and my experience there. Uh, I wanted to talk about a couple of coins that caught my eye that are both for sale or have recently auctioned, and then discuss the CNG's Triton 28 results in regards to their Byzantine selection. Very exciting time, so let's dive in. The New York International is by far the best show that I like to attend. I've been going now for, I guess this is my fifth year of going since I started to get into ancient coins, and I'm always so excited about it. It's the easiest show for me to get to. I'm based in Massachusetts, so it's easy. Easy to get to New York City. I can either drive or take a train. In this case, I took the train. But around Monday, so typically I go down on um, Thursday and Friday, and then leave Saturday. And around Monday of that week, I start to get really itchy to get going because I get so excited for this. I uh, I got down there around noon, and I think it's important. I mean, I know the show and I know what to expect. I know that it's in the Intercontinental in New York City. I know how to get there. I know which rooms it's in, and I know which dealers are going to be there. But I think it's important every time you go to a show to have a strategy of dealers that you want to go to first to see, um, uh, coins that you might want to take a look at that are interesting. My strategy typically, I get in there and go to the room on the left as you go up the stairs, and typically it's there's three dealers that are right there. There's Derek Warden, Dr. Keith Candiotti, and Nick Economopoulos off to the left as you walk in. Now, I like going to these guys first. One, I've built a pretty good relationship with these guys. Um, but two, they don't have websites. So they strictly go to shows and they have what they have. So it's always sort of like Christmas morning, you don't know what you're going to get when you walk in there. Whereas a lot of other dealers have websites or they put fixed price lists out and you sort of know what their offerings are going to look like. So I go there first and see those guys. I've been buying from Nick Economopoulos since 2018. And I mean, I can remember back when I had no idea what I was doing. I was still collecting US coins and I was interested in ancients, but I had no idea. Um, there was a couple dealers that I bought from back then that I really got raked across the coals on a couple coins. But Nick has always been very fair. I bought one of my first Byzantine coins from him in 2018, and I remember working through him to get to a price, and he looked at me and said, "You should do this deal." And he was right. I still have both the coins that I bought then, and they were sold at a very, very fair price. Um, since then, I've also started to sell some coins here and there, and I sell coins to those guys as well. And I mean, I remember once I was selling one of my first coins that I sold at a show. I mean, shows can be intimidating if you don't know what to expect right off the bat, and you haven't gone to a few. The protocol and how it works, everything else. So I uh, I had brought a coin to sell, and I quoted a price to Nick, and he said actually it's going to be worth a little bit more than that, and he quoted me a price $100 over the price that I was trying to sell it at. So very fair dealers and more interested in building relationships and partnerships with their customers than trying to juice them for an extra couple $100, in my opinion. So went there first and looked to see what they had. I sold a couple coins and um, and then walked around quickly around the rest of the room. My first target that I wanted to look at was a coin from NAC USA, and it was a coin that, and I'll advance it here. It was a coin that I had reached out to them about a month before on. This is a Justinian II from roughly circa 685 to 695 AD from Syracuse. It's 4.26 grams. I had reached out a month before on this and shot an offer over to them, and they indicated they didn't have a lot of room on it. But I had found provenance on this. So they had provenance listed. It was the ex New York sale from 2016, lot 717. And I had found provenance on this that it was part of the Hugh Goodacre collection sold by Christie's in 1986, lot 159, which is a very famous collection. So I had this on my mind. I knew they didn't have a lot of movement on it. The price is there. I thought, I mean, if you look at the coin, it's not the greatest. It's a good strike, but it's in VG. It's a very good condition coin. It's got some graffito on the reverse in the field. But with that provenance, I thought it was certainly worth close to what they're asking for. And I was able to come to an agreement with Shauna on it, and I bought the coin. So I was really excited to add this to my collection. One thing about Hugh Goodacre's collection, yes, Christie's sold off the collection in 1986, but Goodacre was like one of the most prominent Byzantine coin collectors in the early 20th century. He wrote three books that were sort of separately issued and then combined into a single book after his death. But he did most of his buying in the 20s and 30s. This coin is not in his book, which was basically the handbook of Byzantine coins. It was sort of Sears book before Sear had come out with one. It was the standard reference. Um, so it's probable that he bought this after the early 1930s. He did most of his buying then, and he passed away in 1954, I think. Yeah, 1954. And his heirs sold off his collection in 1986. So while it has a pedigree to 1986, Hugh Goodacre passed away in 1954, and like I said, did most of his buying in the 20s and 30s of the 20th century. So it's got a great pedigree. I'm excited to own it, um, and I'm excited I was able to come to a price and a deal with Shauna and NAC USA. So that was my first purchase that I bought pretty quickly. From there on, I went around to the other tables and just kind of looked to see what was there. I mean, some of it I knew what was going to be there. Just kind of get an idea of what was around them. Just sort of do a lap, right? And see if there's something that I must have or something very cool. So the other thing is I had to take a beat at this point because there was an auction coming up that was going on at the same time, and there was a coin that I really wanted on it. So as the coin came closer to auction, I went down to the bar in the Intercontinental and had a light lunch and watched that auction. And I'll talk a little bit more about the coin that I was interested in that auction later here. But one thing I will say, the Intercontinental Bar is the most expensive place on earth. It was $9 for a can of Coke. I had a salad, I had a salad, a beet salad with chicken, and it was, I think, $50. Um, so anyway, it's not a cheap place to eat, but it is a beautiful hotel and hotel bar. So I was watching this auction. I did win the coin, and like I said, I'll talk about it in a minute. So I was very excited about that. And after the auction was finished, I went back in and did another lap around, and looked at some bronzes that Dr. Keith Candiotti had. And I bought this one. This one is circa 829 AD. This is a Theophilus 4.49 grams and 21 millimeters. This is ex-Loy 22. I think that was in 2022, maybe 2023. Lot 306. And it was from the collection of Dr. Max Bloscheg. He had a really awesome Byzantine coin collection that Loy auctioned off. And one of the cool things about it was he wrote down everything about where he bought the coins from and the associated tickets with them, et cetera, and saved all that. So most of these coins all have really great provenance on it, and this one does as well. This is ex Sternberg 7, 1977, lot 1275. I have a couple other coins from his collection. It was a great sale and some really amazing stuff with amazing pedigrees on it. So I bought this little phallus, and in my effort to get better at my Byzantine bronze and the series are on them because I'm just not as strong at that. So this was a pretty coin and I think a nice purchase. And I like working with Keith. He is he's awesome as well. I met him at my first New York International show, and he's really into Byzantine coins as well. So he's got a great stock of coins to look at and to pick from if you're so inclined. So after that, I didn't really buy anything else that day. I had those two purchased. I had sold a number of coins, a couple of coins as well, and I walked around quite a bit. But I had to sort of call it early because I had to go check into my hotel. What was really cool is Nomos AG, the auction house in Switzerland, had invited me to be their guest at the American Numismatic Society gala dinner, which was super cool. It was unexpected, and I was excited to go. So I went back and checked in and got cleaned up for that. And they had a cocktail hour and a nice dinner. And then, there was a silent auction there, but it was really, a lot of dealers from the show. And it's a rare thing when you get to go to a cocktail party. I have to do these kind of things once in a while for my day job. And, the word coin or ancient doesn't come out of my mouth once, nor do I ever hear it at these parties. But this was a party very similar to those type of things, those events. And that's everything people were talking about the coins, ancient coins, the business, and you could have conversations with a lot of like-minded people. So it was a really cool event. I loved it. I want to thank the team at Nomos for inviting me. It was a lot of fun. And then there was a an after party that Heritage was putting on after the gala event. And so we went to the after party and I hung out there with everybody as well and I might have been slightly overserved because at one point I had to switch to drinking club sodas, and then it was close to midnight, and I was like, I got to go to bed. So I walked back to the hotel. I really don't know how these guys from Europe do it because it's like 6 in the morning their time, and they are just going strong. And the next day they are at the show and they're ready to go. So hats off to them for sure. Um, at any rate. So those were the first two coins that I had. I had a great night, a great day, great night for the first day. That was um, the preview day, so it costs a little extra to get in, but it's well worth it. I mean, a lot of the booths were 2 to 3 people deep. I mean, when I went to get the coin from NAC USA, this one. I literally had to wait for it was there was 3 people deep at their table, and I had to wait to sort of get a little bit of real estate and get somebody's attention to talk about it. So it's a super busy show, and I my hats off to the dealers that do it. I know it's an expensive week. The tables are expensive. New York is expensive, and it's just go go go. I mean, these guys were juggling 5 or 6 different conversations with different buyers on different coins. Um, so yeah, it's a busy show. So that's the other reason that sometimes you do a quick lap around, but there are certain tables you're not going to be able to get near until maybe the next lap or the lap after that. But it's a great show. I did find most of the prices there were pretty high. I mean, and I get it. Like I said, it's an expensive show and it's a big money show. Big money collectors are coming by, right? Um, but the best thing you can do at these shows are educate yourself as best you can on the market, have some targets in mind, and pick your spots. Pick your spots to make your move, right? So. I found 2 coins the first day. The next day, I got there. I was running a little slow in the morning, just because of the excesses of the night before. But I got to the show around 11:30, and honestly, I thought I had seen everything, and and been around to see what was available and looked at things. So I didn't expect to find too much, but I did. I ended up finding a couple other cool coins. So this one was a Solidus from Justinian the First. This is a Carthage issue. It's 4.47 grams. This is indicational year 10. Um, it's a really nice coin. The auction pictures. This is from Bartolome 87, lot 625 from 2020. The auction pictures don't really do it justice. It's got a lot of great luster to it and character to it. So I was really psyched when I found this coin, and it was at a table from Coin Cabinet IO, and it was the only Byzantine coin that he had. But I sat down and had a great conversation with Brian O'Neill there, who runs that company, and he showed me the technology for looking up provenance and what cool technology it is using AI to go through and find provenance on coins and how it works, and you only have to pay for it if it finds provenance. It's outstanding technology, and Brian is a super nice guy to talk to. I had never met him before, so I was really taken with the technology and how open he was about it. And I got this great Carthaginian Justinian Solidus, so I was really excited about that. That was my first purchase of the second day. From there, I by Nick Economopoulos's table again and went through some of the bronzes he had, and he had this Justinian Fallis from Nicomedia, year 21. Um, and I ended up picking this up from him. And again, my foray into the bronze world continues. And I thought this was a nice pickup. There was a couple dealers there that had the big falluses from Justinian, um, and they had just remarkably high prices on one of them. Two of them that I looked at, they wanted $900 on each one of them. I was like, wow. That to me felt like it was a little high, but they were very nice coins. They were high quality for sure. But this one was not $900. But again, it's I'm trying to get it more into bronzes and learn more about them, and I like the strike on this one, and when you tilt it in the light, it's got a little flash to it too, which is kind of nice, and it's something I don't feel like you see very often in bronzes. So this was my fourth pickup at New York International, and this was my second pickup on day two. Continuing on, this coin was my third pickup from the New York International. This is ex Jonathan Kern collection, Heritage 2014. Also, it was ex PJ Donald collection from Baldwin's in 1995, lot 137. I bought this from Baldwin's, so Baldwin's was another table that I couldn't get close to kind of see what was going on. I could kind of just lean in. There was an opening at one point. I asked to see what they had from a Byzantine selection, and they pulled out a tray, and I went through them, and I found this one. The photos don't really do this justice. This is just a real cracking coin. It's high definition, great luster, full legends. What's funny is I had already sort of really decided I liked it, and I had to pay up for it a little bit for this type. I think it was at the higher end, but it's just it's a higher end type of this coin in great shape and condition, great strike. And I had already decided to buy it, and he had looked in the flip, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I cracked this one out. This was MGC Mint State 5 of 5, strike 5 of 5." I was like, "Wow, you cracked that out!" And he laughed and he said, "Yeah, I didn't know, I didn't realize I was doing it at the time." But I think NGC got this one right with their grade. What's interesting is I went by the NGC table just to see how that would work if I wanted to resubmit it, and they don't take into account what their previous grades were. So it doesn't matter that they graded this 5 of 5, 5 of 5. They will grade it now based on what they think it is now. Not so. Will it get 5 of 5, 5 of 5 again? I don't know. Frankly, I don't care because I'm not going to be submitting it. But um, it is a reminder that all grading, not just US, not just ancients, but US as well, is a point in time exercise. It's compared to what they've seen recently and what their standards are now. Um, so um, I think any grade you get, whether it's a high grade or a low grade, you should really take it with a grain of salt, especially when it comes to Byzantine coins, because you just really never know what you're going to get. It's completely subjective. They are tremendous experts in the field, but they look at like 80,000 coins a year, and if you do the math based on a normal work week, they're spending about 3 minutes on each coin. So I mean, I'm sure there's coins that they're going to spend more time on, and other coins that they'll spend less time on, right? But it's a subjective point in time exercise. So just remember that when you're bidding on high grade starred coins, or keep that in mind when you see a coin that says brushed or clipped or everything else, right? I mean, this is at 4.41 grams. So I mean, I could roll the dice and send it to NGC, and there's a good chance they might say, yeah, this is clipped, but they didn't say that the first time. Who knows? But save your money, and save your money to buy coins and not get them graded, in my opinion. Um, so anyway, beautiful coin. I bought this from Baldwin's. This was my third purchase on the second day, on a day that I thought I would purchase nothing. So yeah, it was a busy day. Um, that night, the show wrapped up. I stayed at the show most of the day, and had some good conversations and chatted, and and talked about different coins and bought a few coins. I was really wiped. I didn't sleep well the night before, and I was really just pretty tired. So I wasn't sure if anybody was doing anything, but I was gonna just take it easy. I went and got a bite to eat at a steakhouse called Sparks in New York. It's a famous Manhattan steakhouse a couple blocks away, with the red carpet and the old school bar and everything else, and got a steak and a glass of wine. So once that was done, I was pretty much toast, and I went back and called it a night, even though I know that there was a lot of different things going on that evening, that different people were doing. But uh, I'm just getting old, I guess. So I went home and went to bed. Um, the last day is always the saddest day because you've seen it all, and you got to go home, and the coin show that you've been looking forward to since the last New York International is over, and had to head back. So I was going to do one quick lap before I headed to the train station, and I did a lap, said my goodbyes to some dealers that I've bought from and have relationships with, and said my goodbyes to Nomos and the team there, and thanked them for the invite to the gala, and how much fun it was and everything. And then made a deal on my last coin, which was at the Nomos table. This is a Tiberius III Solidus from Naples. It's 3.98 grams. This is an ex Mueller collection from Syncona 3 in 2011, lot 3392. And this was also ex Triton 3, 1999, lot 1307. This coin was plated in DeAndre's Byzantine coinage in Italy, volume 2, and it is um, cataloged to 626B. So if you have that reference work, you can look up this coin and see it there. I think I mentioned on a previous podcast that I had bid on another one of these that Baldwin's was selling, that was a plate coin in MIB3, and I was the underbidder on it. So I did buy this one. I'm excited to own this one. And this was my big purchase of the show. I mean, for me, it was a big purchase. I mean, the amount of money that it gets thrown around there, this is a drop in the bucket. But came to an agreement with the team at Nomos on this, and bought this very rare Tiberius III from Naples. And after that, I packed up and called it a day and headed to Grand Central Station to catch a train back home. And that was my New York International. And it went on for another, I mean, I was only there for about an hour on Saturday, but it went on all of Saturday, and then part of Sunday. I know that there was a snowstorm coming up the coast, so I'm not sure if everybody was able to get their flights out when they thought they were going to, but It's such a busy show. I can't imagine flying in for this show and just having 5 straight days of this, and especially if you did the fun show beforehand. It's just go go go. So really exciting times. My favorite show. I cannot wait until the next one next year. And I feel like I did pretty well with my purchases there. I didn't get anything shockingly retail. Um, but I feel like the purchases I made there were very good, and some of the sales that I made there were very good. Oh, and one other thing, I when I was walking around, um, I did see there's a number of really nice coins coming up in um, I think it's Maison Palumbo. I don't have the name off the top of my head, but they had some really nice um, Ravenna pieces there, and I remember seeing them, and I was like, oh, I wanted to buy them. They're like, oh, it's coming up in our auction. I was like, yeah, okay. But there was one I did some free cataloging for them on, and uh, I told them that it was a plate coin from MIB, and they were surprised to hear that because they had reached out to the author of MIB and asked if he had recognized that coin, and he said no. So they were surprised to hear that, and I pulled up the picture from the plate and showed them. So I believe that auction's happening in April. I'm looking forward to seeing what their offering is going to be. And the coins that they showed me were pretty awesome. So something to look forward to in April. Hopefully, I'll have a little bit more money back by then because I have none right now. But it was a great show and a great experience. I highly recommend, even if you're not really even if you're not really looking to buy anything, going just to kind of look at what's there and talk to some of the dealers. I mean, everybody that's a major player in the ancient coin industry is typically there. Most of the European firms are there. So it's a great chance to network and see what's out there. I mean, the best way to be a collector, a coin collector, and I've said this to some friends that collect American as well, is to try and sell a few coins. I mean, I think that makes you a much tighter buyer when you try to sell a few things and you see what resonates and what doesn't, and why people buy and why people sell, right? As a collector, you become a much sharper buyer if you know what's going to sell down the line. And then, you might not end up buying something that you would have because you know that you've tried to sell something similar and it just doesn't sell. So try to sell a few things and see what happens. I think that it's a good experience, even if you're not trying to become a dealer or you just want to be a collector, it just makes you a stronger buyer. Let's see. This coin here, and we'll talk about it. Well, we can talk about it now. So this is the coin I was bidding on when I said I went to the bar in the middle of the show, and how this is a Tiberius III lightweight solidus, um, and you could tell because of the star on the reverse on this. The dies are standard Constantinople dies, so the portraiture is the same that you would see on a normal solidus from Tiberius III. It's the star that denotes that it is a lightweight solidus. This was in a an auction where it was cataloged as a Syracuse solidus. Again, Syracuse is still very rare. Um, but it was misattributed. This is a lightweight solid. There's probably three or four of these in existence, um, and uh, and it wasn't cataloged as such. Now, somebody else, I think, probably knew it because it got bid up pretty high. Um, I was hoping to maybe get this, and it snuck under the radar, but it got bid up to 3,000 euros. Um, and I think that would be more than what a standard Syracuse Solidus would go for. So somebody else knew. I think it might be worth more than that, or maybe not, but it's super rare. And I was lucky enough to win this while I was sitting at the bar at the New York International. And it's a very, very rare type. So that wraps up my experience at the New York International. Just great to be there. Highly recommend if you're able to come in for a day or two, check it out, even if you feel like you're not going to buy anything, but it's just for networking. It's an awesome show. Um, Now let's turn to a couple coins that caught my eye. So CNG not only has their Triton auction, but they also do a fixed price list that they release on the first day of the show. This is one that kind of caught my eye, and I looked at it. It's a really nice Solidus of Philippicus. It's 4.48 grams. The flan is a little small at 18 and a half millimeters, but great portrait. Most of the legends are there. And At 26.75, it's a pretty good price for this, I think. I mean, it's a little high, but not much. And it's a nice example of this. So if you're in the market for a Philippicus solidus, this might be one you want to take a look at. Like I said, it's a nice piece, and it's ex Glen Woods inventory. So yeah, I figured I'd highlight it here. And one of the things we talk a lot about auctions and what's being auctioned, but a number of companies do fixed price lists around the show, or they do fixed price lists every couple months. So it's something to think about as well as you see stuff, because usually fixed price lists are on the high side of cost wise, but sometimes you can find some really great things in there at a decent price. Another coin that I saw was this joint reign solidus of Justin the First and Justinian the first, and they only issued these, I think it says here, April to August of the last year in 527 of Justin's reign, and this was really to cement Justinian as his adopted son, even though he was his nephew and heir on these coins. I think Justinian had been running things at this point anyway, because Justin had started to decline in health. But this is a really nice example. These are usually very expensive. This one's very expensive. I think you can typically get these between $4,000 and $5,000, but this is a really nice type. And they are very rare. And this has also got a pedigree to Triton 6 in 2003. But I wanted to highlight this as a type that's fascinating and typically rare. And usually most of the great collections that you look at have at least one of these as an example. As part of the collection. So, awesome coins, some great history there, some great propaganda that they were trying to show continuity and dynastic continuity as the change in the guard happened from Justin to Justinian the First. Also, want to talk about Nomos. Nomos has a fixed price list as well. Again, had a great time with their whole crew at the New York International. You'll see here they've got some great pieces, great Leo the Third's pieces. This Anastasius the Second is a tremendous portrait, a very rare portrait type. I mean, it's got a little graffiti on the in the field on the reverse, but um, you know, it's expensive, but it's a quality that you rarely see, and so wanted to highlight that one, and I also wanted to highlight this another example of Philippicus. This one is from Syracuse. Um, this is also from Triton 3 and the Syncona 3 auction, so it's got amazing pedigree. They went 10,000 Swiss francs for it. I don't know. I mean, you just don't see these that often, so I don't know if it's worth that or not, but um, it is a rare type, and it's of rare quality. So I wanted to highlight this coin as well. Um, you see here the weight on these are 3.99, 3.98, sometimes a little over 4, but the weight standard in the West was much lighter than the weight standard in the East. And that has to do with exchange rates with some of the barbarian nation states that use silver, and trading out the gold for the type of silver using a lighter weight um, solidus was the norm in that. And it's also a theory as to why there is a lightweight solidus to begin with. The lightweight solidi started under Justinian the First, and Justinian the First obviously reconquered Carthage in Italy. Um, and then the last one was the Tiberius the Third lightweight solidus. There's not very many of them. Um, but that's the last known one, and we know under Tiberius the Third, um, Carthage was lost, and a number of key areas in Italy also started to be lost as well. So it's a good bet that the lightweight solidus had something to do um, with making change and the exchange rate in the West. But again, that's conjecture. We don't have proof on that yet. But at any rate, the weight standard for Western coins was much less than the typical. I think they were supposed to be at 4.5 grams, and typically you saw them between 4.4 and 4.5. But depending on the amount of gold that they had, sometimes the flans were a little bit lighter um, than that weight standard. Really, what was being guaranteed was the purity of the gold. So it would come in at a weight standard of in a certain range, but the purity was always guaranteed, and that was the main thing. So a lot of these gold transactions were large bulk transactions, and they were weighed out, and you just knew that with the imperial stamp on it, the imperial portraiture on it, that it was going to be made of um, a certain uh, high purity gold. So this is a lovely example, one I'd love to own, but I don't I don't have it's a little pricey for me at this point in my life. So Nomo's fixed price list, they have other coins here as well. Suggest you check it out. It's up for a while. I don't know when they take it down typically, but um, there's some good examples here if you want to take a look at that. This was another coin that was brought to my attention, and one that I had seen as well. It's another Philippicus. We're covering a lot of Philippicus solidi today. Sorry about that, but this is a really nice portrait. It's sort of a different looking portrait than the most of the ones that you see. It's sharply struck. It's got full legends. Um, it's got a very rare Officina combination on it with the Z and the G. So at any rate, it's a rare Officina combination, a rare portrait. It's clearly been clipped. It's 4.26 grams. It was 19 millimeters. This was in a recent, I think, Solidus numismatics auction, and they had a starting price of €4,000 on it, and it passed at that price. Which, I mean, yeah, the price on it was very high. And yeah, it's a rare Officina combination and a rare portrait type, but at €4,000, it wasn't getting any kind of interest. But one I figured I'd highlight just because of the style on it. I thought it was has a real sort of prettiness to it. So maybe it'll come up again with a lesser starting price, and you could take a look at it then. We talked about this one. This was the one that I had spoke about. This is the lightweight solidus of Tiberius the Third. It was cataloged in this as Syracuse. And I can't really blame the auction company because you just don't ever see these. Number one. Number two, all the Syracuse solidi of Tiberius III typically had a star on them as well. But it still went for pretty big money. But a super rare coin and one you almost never see. I think that there's two others in private hands and one at Dumbarton Oaks. So from there, well, let's take a look at the results of the Triton auction. I just have the catalog auction up here. I don't have the e-auction to go through right now, but we can just do that. I thought the results of the Triton 28 auction um, was from a Byzantine standpoint um, very predictable. There wasn't anything that was shocking to me as far as how much over it went or how what kind of deals there were. We can go through here. Lot 803 was this Anastasius the First. Nice portrait style on this. This hammered for $1,200. That's right about where I would expect something like this to hammer for. Sometimes you see these get bid up a little bit based on stuff. This one didn't have any specific provenance to it. Um, but it's a really sharp example, and I think that was right where it should have hammered on that. Lot 804 was another Anastasius the First Solidus. This one, the rarer type with the Chi-Rho on top of the cross, the P and the X on top of the cross that the angel or winged victory is holding. Um, this is a rare version. It was also slabbed and it was mint state 50545. This got 2250. I thought that was fair. I thought this could go anywhere as between $1,500 and $3,000. So I think that landed right in the middle of where it was. Is a really, really nice example. Um, so no surprise there. Lot 805 is probably one that did surprise me a little bit. This is a really choice example of this coin. Now, typically this coin you can find coins that might not be quite as choice. And you could get them in the $1,000 range, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less, depending on the coin. This one went for 2,500. Clearly, a couple people wanted to buy this one. Like I said, it is a choice example, but I think that this one, yeah, I mean, it's a choice example, so I would say what it went for would be fair, but you could typically get these at a little bit of a discount to where this hammered at. Lot 806 was Tiberius the Third. Nice one. Had some weakness on both the obverse and around the shield and the reverse around the legends. This one hammered for $1,400. I think that's right where it should have hammered for in that range. And then there was another Tiberius the Third, lot 807. This one hammered for $1,600. Arguably, this was the nicer example, and it went for $200 more. Um, and it is nice. So yeah, but that's right where I would suspect, sometimes I see these get bid up a little bit higher for whatever reason. But I think $1,600 is very fair. Lot 808, this was a Justinian the second reign version of um, Portrait of Christ. This was I think a nice example at full weight. This had also had provenance to what was it? NFA, Numismatic Fine Arts Auction 1 in 1975. And so this one had some nice provenance on it. Went for 33.75. With the provenance, I think that's a very fair price. I've seen these go higher without provenance. This had a little bit of a flan flaw on the obverse, but overall, I think this is a really nice coin with a great pedigree, and I think that the hammer was very fair for it. 809 was a Philippicus. It has some weakness on the obverse and both the obverse and the reverse. Nice luster, 4.36 grams, so it's a little underweight. This sold for $1,600. Typically, a full weight one without the weakness, you'd see between $2,000 and $3,000, maybe a little bit more with some provenance. This sold for $1,600. I think this was a pretty good hammer for whoever got this. But I think a fair hammer. So I think this was right where it should have been as well. Lot 810 was a Constantine the Sixth and Irene. This one with the extremely rare die pair error. This one got bid up, and I guess somebody was fascinated in the error that with the dies. Typically, you see these sell between $2,000 and $3,000, sometimes a little less than that, depending on the quality. This one got bid up to 6,750, so I think that's a nice hammer for the consigner. And if you really wanted the rare die pair error, it's probably unique. So you got a great coin there if you were the buyer. Lot 811 was another Constantine the Sixth and Irene. Weakness around the legends, but good portraits. This one sold for 2125. That's right where I would think that it would land based on the quality. Lot 812 is an Irene alone solidus. Irene on both sides, but there's weakness on one of the portraits and it's a little off center, and there's weakness on one of the shoulders of the portraits as well. This sold for $3,000. These when there's no weakness and it's full weight, these can sell for $5,000 or $6,000. So I'm not surprised that it sold at 3,000 based on the quality of the coin, but I think that's right where it should have landed. Lot 813 is a Nicephorus the First. This is early in his reign where he had not associated his son Starakius. I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. To the throne. These are much rarer. This sold for 3,250. That's a pretty strong hammer, in my opinion. So, we'll see. I think that it's not bad. Um, and then the next one is Lot 814. And this is another Nicephorus with his son on the reverse. This sold for 2,250. Um, these are Nicephorus has got such a great story, right? I mean, it's so I'm not surprised that it went for what it did. Um, and yeah, both of these were pretty decent examples. Lot 815 was a Michael III, the drunkard, with Theodora and Thecla, yeah, Thecla, I think. Um, these are super rare. One of these in the Heritage auction that was 5 of 5 star, sold for $66,000 with the buyer's premium. This one sold for 14,000, so it was a great chance to get an example of this coin at a little bit less of a rate. Um, but I think that hammered right around where I expected it to. Lot 816 was a Leo the Wise and Constantine the Seventh. This sold for $11,000. This is a really, really nice example. Now, I think they had said that there was some evidence of tooling on it, which I didn't see, but maybe if I was looking at it with them, they could have pointed it out to me and I would have seen it. But I didn't see it looking at the photos. But it's a really nice example. Sold for a strong price of $11,000. Lot 817. This is Constantine the Seventh and Romanus the First, sold for $2,500. Nice example. This is and a solid hammer for this. Lot 818. I love this coin type. It's beautiful. This one also had a flan crack in it, as I recall. It sold for $5,000. And it's a super rare type of Romanus the Third, Millararison. Um, I've seen other examples of this go for quite a bit, but given the condition on it, and some of the issues that had it, I think 5,000 is very fair for this. Constantine the Ninth to Tartaron sold for $1,800. There's a little weakness in Constantine the Ninth's face, but overall it's a nice example, right where I would expect it to go. Then there was some of these lead seals. I don't really know a lot about pricing on these, but the Theodora lead seal, I was pretty taken with this one. It sold for 2750. It's a nice example, beautiful. And then this other one here that featured an actual illustration of the Hagia Sophia on it, that sold for 2500. Both really, really cool pieces. Again, I don't know a lot about lead seals, but I know that it's sort of a whole subgenre of collecting Byzantine, but it's fascinating stuff. So I don't know if those were considered strong prices or weak prices, but nice pieces either way. Last one was the Theodore Komnenos Dukas uh, uh, silver tracky. This was again, I remember looking at this and being like, wow, it looked needlepoint, high definition. This sold for $2,000. I think that's a pretty good price for whoever bought this. I mean, I don't think you'll find um, a coin of this quality, like this quality, anytime soon. So, uh, congratulations. And overall, like I said, I think prices were right where they should have been. Um, on everything that I saw, there was nothing that was shocking to me, and it was a good sale. And I look forward to the next CNG feature auction and seeing what Byzantine curiosities and amazing stuff they have to for that next auction. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the show today. Again, thanks to everyone. It was great seeing everyone in New York City at the New York International. Um, my favorite show. I look forward to the next one, and looking forward to doing the next um Byzantine Coin podcast, which would be episode 7. So thanks for listening, and appreciate your time, and we'll see you at the next one. Cheers.